and I'm here to tell more stories about my gram, Teresa Billie Mitchell, awok. She was an amazing, amazing woman, and I have so many stories to tell about her. Usually something prompts me to say, oh, this is the story I want to tell today, but I really think I just need to do a history of her. She lived her entire life in the Witchback, Martins Ferry area of Northern California on the Klamath River, what's now the Yurok Indian Reservation. And I just want to, first of all, establish who she is, who she was. My Grandma Teresa Mitchell, Grandma Teresa, Sister Mitchell. She is known by lots of different names, but I always like Gram best. She was born in 1891. I believe her birthday was September 26th, 1891. Now that might not have been the actual day she was born, but that's the date that was given to her birth. And I say that because at that time there wasn't really a very good system to determine that. So she was born to Annie Kane, who was married to Billie, and she was from Pecta, and Pecta is where Witchbeck is now, where the convenience store is, Pecta Market, I think it's called, and the Witchbeck Church is also there. It was a village that her family came from. So her grandfather, his name was Pecta Billie. I'm going to give you a little history lesson here. Pecta Billie, although Billie was not his given name was Kigama. He and his children, when they were born, would have been Pecta, Ben, Pecta, Elizabeth, I think. When my grandmother was born and her brother was born, it was Pecta Teresa and Pecta Peter. Because first names and last names in the new colonized world, which they were born into the changing of their world, they would have been given their grandfathers what they assumed was their last name. So my grandmother, her mom was Annie Keenach, or Annie Kane, and she was from Bluff Creek. And one of her brothers is Bluff Creek Tom. I'm going to say awok, awok, awok. For all the names I'm calling out, because we believe that in spirit world they can hear us and they'll think that we're calling them, and really we're just talking about them. In the old way, and my grandma always called it the old way, in the old way we would not have spoken their names at all, and consequently we don't really know. Like, I know where my grandma, great grandma Annie Keenach, I know where her parents are buried, but I don't know their names because Gram never spoke their names. Okay, so that's kind of a tradition of our people. And also, as I'm telling you this history, this is how people got their names and ended up with anglicized names. My Gram had two older siblings as well. She had from her mom's first marriage, and her mom had George Nelson and Ida Saunders. I'm sure her name was also Nelson, but Saunders was the name that I knew her by, and we called her Gaga. She was the mother of Georgie, and I'm sure she also had other children. I just know Georgie. Her brother George had many children as well, more than I can think of all their names, but I know that my grandma was really close with Diddy and with Byron Sr. And she had a brother named Peter, who was her full brother. And Peter had a daughter named Ruthema. She also kept very close contact with her aunt Liza's children. Okay, so like Thelma, Tuppy, we love Tuppy, and those children. And so my Gram had, that family. So she had not only her own children, which she had 10 of, she birthed 10. And first of all, she lost an infant while they were still a baby, before they were named. This is what I understand. She also had a little girl, about 2 years old, named Tootie Bug, who she lost at that age. And she had a son named Lewis, who um, was her firstborn, and he lived to be 18, and he was thrown from a horse, and she lost him at that time. She also had her remaining children, which included May and Curtis, and also Annie and Irene, and Edward and Dutchie. Dutchie's name was Irvin, but everybody called him Dutch. And my dad, whose name is Billie, also William. So I just wanted to make sure you all knew who her children were. Awok, 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 awok. All of my aunties, uncles, my dad are all in spirit world now. Graham was very involved in all of her family and all of their concerns and all of their joys and celebrations and losses, and it was just amazing, an amazing thing to be grown up in that kind of a atmosphere where we had concerns for everybody. It seemed like everybody. It was a large, large, large group of people, and hopefully some of those that are descendants from George Nelson, from Ida Saunders, from Peter Billie, and from Teresa Mitchell will be able to see this and be able to take some time to post down below. How are you related? What is your relationship to Grandma Teresa Billie Mitchell?